You can turn out the lights on night one of the Sweet 16 at MSG. It is a second-half surge from the Florida Atlantic Owls that take them over the top of Tennessee, 62-55. FAU scoring 40 points in the second half, following just 22 in the first half. And it is plenty, as Tennessee could not keep up the pace down the stretch. The Owls, in their first ever Sweet 16 appearance, they will play on to the Elite Eight. 62-55 again is your final. John L. Davis once again leading the way, not to the exploits of past games, but 15 points here, enough to lead the way for Florida Atlantic, who takes down Tennessee in the round of 16. All right, let's dive into what we saw with the coach, Avery Johnson. Tim Doyle in studio as well. I'm your host, Joe Musso. Guys, tale of two halves here. It was Tennessee in the first half, stifling defense, scoring enough, sort of been the story of the season, or at least of the tournament. And then in the second half, they can't ramp up that scoring where FAU could. What did you see? What was the big difference there from first half to second half in your eyes?
I have an Aunt Louise that has a glass eye. Okay. And Tennessee's offense coach put my Aunt Louise's glass eye to sleep. Like she started falling. I mean, they couldn't do anything out from an offensive standpoint. And they were leading this game 25-16 with 4 minutes left. Now, no team scored the last almost 3 minutes of the first half, but that was an opportunity for Tennessee coach to open up that lead to double digits, then all of a sudden rely on their defense. Instead, FAU went into the half within striking distance. Davis had 2 fouls. Boyd had 2 fouls. And it was almost like Dusty May could give a speech like, boys, we played awful. And I mean awful. Let's everyone relax. Jimmy Jackson said it on the broadcast. They started finding a rhythm there in the second half. Forrest was great off the bench. And then Boyd and Davis started to deliver in a big way. What an amazing win for FAU. How about Conference USA, Coach? You are the voice of Conference USA, and FAU, a dominant second-half performance, shot nearly 50%.
Well, I must say I tried to tell you. This was a dangerous team. I called 2 of FAU's games in the Conference USA tournament semifinals, their big finals win against UAB. And my wife and I were talking about it after the game. The look of Florida Atlantic players, they can match up with anybody, so they looked the part. Elijah Martin, he looks like a linebacker in a basketball uniform. He's got extra large calves, and he plays above the rim. He's a 3-and-D player. We featured him earlier on CBS Sports HQ when we were breaking down these games. This team is a deep team. Michael Forrest came off the bench with double figures. They have size. They have 2 different types of centers. They have a 7-1 center that starts, and then they have a poor man's Boris Diaw that comes off the bench and handles the ball. Dusty May, as you alluded to, a well-coached team. 8 of their 9 top players returned this year. They did not transfer. So this team was right to have a deep run in March Madness. I am not surprised. Every show that I've been on, I've talked about how I thought this team would play well and have a chance to beat Tennessee.
That continuity, that guard play that Tim Doyle has been talking about since the selection show, really rearing its head here for FAU. It's their second ever tourney appearance. It's their first appearance in the Sweet 16. They will make their first trip to the Elite Eight. They extend that school record 33 wins now to 34. The beat goes on for FAU, but for Tennessee, it's a lot of the same we've seen in the past as well. Now 1-7 in Sweet 16 appearances. It's the second most losses of any team to appear there more than 5 times. Their lone Elite Eight appearance coming in 2010. I don't want to go too big picture here, TD, but is there a ceiling on this Tennessee program right now?
They looked dumbfounded in the half court, Joe. And, you know, I understand Rick Barnes won a lot of games, is go down as one of the quality coaches of this generation. But, man, talk about never being able to, like, get over that hump. But he's had some pretty good players. Their offense was just awful in the second half. There's no other way to say it. And it all started with lack of movement. Like, you got to get guys moving a little bit. And you know, this is going to be the issue with bringing in transfers and guys that don't have that same chemistry, that same continuity. you don't even know how to, like, move away from the ball. It was like, all right, you have the ball, you're going to stand there. Like, go set a drift, cut, set a back door. Like, do something. It was just like a lot of standing around. And then you saw FAU kind of start developing that rhythm. This has been Tennessee's bugaboo, though. Against Louisiana, 18 turnovers, couldn't make a shot. Today, couldn't make a shot. They only had 6 turnovers. They flipped the switch against Duke, but how about if you're a Duke fan or if you are the Blue Devils?
It's a tough watch.
You lost to this team? How did that happen? How did they lose to this team? That's it. They just got blown out by FAU.
Yeah.
So Duke had their chances. That was the wrong night and the wrong game. And I think this brings more to my point before that the tournament needs to slot 2 spots for mid-majors. Nobody will schedule FAU, nor Texas in the finals of the NIT. So is UAB in the semifinals as well. Like, mid-majors are an amazing story. And that chemistry, that continuity, that culture, that's why Princeton is still alive. That's why Creighton is still alive. That's why San Diego State's still alive. Older veteran teams are going to have success in the tournament because the transferring is out of control.
Coach, as you really assess what Tennessee has accomplished and then at this moment failed to, how do they get over that hump that we've spoken about here?
Similar to what Arkansas's problem is. When Mick Cronin talked about, in an interview about his team's first half performance in the UCLA Gonzaga game, he said, look, when players are making shots, I'm a better coach. All right? When the ball is going in the basket, the plays in the offensive arsenal of the playbook is much better. Tennessee couldn't shoot. Arkansas couldn't make a shot. When you can't make a shot, the floor shrinks. You have less options in your playbook. Players who are afraid to attempt shots, they're pump faking themselves, or what I call fake yourself covered. You know, when you're open, Tim, and you keep pumping, faking yourself until somebody comes and cover you. You didn't have that problem. But again, this is a team that, because they were only shot 30% from the field, putrid numbers from behind the three-point line, that gave FAU more options defensively so that they can play 5 against 4, 4 against 3, 3 against 2 on defense. And they basically just sealed that paint off. And Tennessee didn't have any options. And that's why their big guy was taking long twos and long mid-range jumpers, because their guards was just putrid from behind the three-point line.
It has really been interesting to watch the two ends of the gamut in offensive basketball here in collegiate hoops, coming off that K-State matchup where it was free-wielding, team shooting 50% from the field, three-point efficiency was there. You get 62 points, and I feel like that even looks a little longer than the 22 we saw in the first half out of FAU. So let's move this thing forward, because that is our matchup in the Elite Eight, Madison Square Garden, FAU, K-State. The storylines are there. You got the hometown kid. You got the underdog. Tim, is there a world where you can see FAU scoring to the pace that we know K-State can?
I'm betting FAU.
Okay.
I'm going to bet them on the money line. I'm going to bet them with the points. I think the most nervous person in all of America right now is Jerome Tang, the head coach of Kansas State. You have an emotional win like that. You have a local kid that has a performance of a lifetime. And now you got a team that goes, we got FAU? Like, this is like, coach, like, if you're a coach, you're like this, oh no, because
trap after trap after trap.
Yeah, because right now everyone's feeling high. You just beat Tom Izzo, you just won a Sweet 16 game, and now you got FAU.
Yeah.
And now you're in New York. Oh, like all of these things are lining up. And FAU did not play well in this game. They played awful in the first half. They flipped a little bit of a switch in the second half. If they play well and put together 40 minutes, my thing is Kansas State. Where are they going to be at up here? The game is so much up here. Noel had a game of a lifetime. But, Coach, what would your message be if you're Coach Tang to your squad after you have a win like that and you know FAU's waiting in the wings?
Turn off your cell phones. Hey, turn off your cell phones, have alias names at the hotel, have different codes. We'll send the trainers to knock on your door when we're ready for film sessions and to go to practice. Turn off your cell phone, stay off social media. Don't believe the hype. Let's stay focused on the mission so that we can have mission accomplished. I'm believing and I'm buying Kansas State. Jerome Tain's outstanding coach. I think he'll be up for National Coach of the Year. Noel is amazing. That's the one thing that Kansas State has that Tennessee doesn't have, that type of a point guard and scoring ability. Keontae Johnson, the bench, size inside. So where FAU could have been the kryptonite with Tennessee, that's not going to work. They'll score more against Kansas State, but I don't think they can outscore Kansas State in the shootout. So I got Kansas State winning a close one, even though I am buying FAU and how far they've gone in an incredible season that they've had.
Bright lights, big city, but curfew will be enforced. Got to say thank you because we got to get this guy to bed too. Thank you, guys.
Do you want a sports network that delivers everything that matters about the game? The highlights, the picks, the instant analysis, no yelling, no fake debates, no politics. Hit the subscribe button and never miss a moment.